Hey, I'm Gab Carlton.
And I'm Rob Sams. How you going? Welcome back. This is the next in a series of our videos where we're hoping to share some of our learning around how we deal with risk and safety. Today we're going to understand or talk about how understanding perception is critical if we are going to deal with risk. So, Gab, maybe we should just start with some of the traditional ways that are used in risk and safety to try and understand whether people understand, to try and understand if people know how to deal with risk and are able to discern risk. What are some of the traditional methods?
Wow, well, there's plenty of them.
There sure are.
We have things like audits, checklists.
Yep.
Wow, now I've got a mental blank.
Inspections.
Oh, inspections.
We do loads of stuff like that, hey?
Well, we do, and really what we call this is telling.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess the telling is really around, it's usually one way. You know, an audit certainly might be asking questions, but it's asking specific questions with an answer really that people have in mind. And we're auditing a process. And yeah, when we talk to people in risk and safety, I mean, how many times have people said, you know, they figure out what the auditors are looking for, and
yes,
they've almost got the pile ready to go. You're
yeah,
ready to audit this, and away we go. And
yep,
and look, I think we should acknowledge that those approaches certainly are useful. You know, a pre-start check before using a forklift or any vehicle, yeah, has its uses, doesn't it? Really?
Well, it does. I guess we just need to go that little bit further and ask what are we really wanting here?
Yeah, exactly. And they have their limitations. Mm-hmm. So the traditional methods, inspecting and auditing and checking and all those things, they focus on objects and the risks associated with objects. Mm-hmm. The approach that we take and that we're most interested in, and the piece that's really often missing, is how do we understand whether people really get the risks associated with the job that they're doing. So what might be an alternative approach, Gab? What are some of the approaches that you take?
Well, it's something that I certainly do differently these days and have been doing for a little while now.
Yeah.
And it's all about asking questions, but it's not just any question. It's a conversation. It's getting a person to tell a story, and I'm not talking about a lengthy story.
Yeah.
It only necessarily needs to be 1 or 2 minutes, not even that.
Yeah.
It's about the right questions, open questions.
Yep.
Because what I want to hear is if the other person is understanding that they know the risks or perceive, how do they perceive risk?
Yeah,
do they
of
even
course.
in fact know that there's a risk? And how do I know that? If I'm just telling someone, they're not thinking, and quite often they're not, as you know, we shut down. When someone tells us what to do, we quite often shut down.
Yeah, and the reality is we might do it, but what do we learn?
Well,
And that's really one of the key philosophies that drives what we do, is around people learning and people understanding. And if they're going to discern and they're going to be able to deal with risks themselves, they need to learn.
Yes.
And following instructions is just not going to cut the mustard.
No.
So Gab, when you are having those conversations, what are the kind of things that you might hear? So we talk about things like risk IQs. Maybe if you could just talk us through what are the kind of things you might listen for that might be a cue?
Okay, because quite often the way that the attitude towards their work or the work environment of that particular person can be the risk.
Yeah, sure.
And it's unconscious in some instances; they're not even aware. Some of the things that we listen out for is overconfidence.
Yes. Okay. So how might that play out? What might you hear someone say?
Well, you know, you might ask a question. What are the risks associated here with this task? And they say, oh, look, it's all good. No worries here. We've been doing it like this for quite some time.
Yep.
Haven't had any problems. So we're all good to go.
Yeah.
And I've heard that.
Yeah, and it might be as subtle as, look, you know, everything's fine here, mate. I've done this it may be overconfidence in sort of the extreme of, you know, mate, she's good. I've done this a million times. Don't tell me what to do. Or it could be as subtle as, oh, look, I can't imagine anything going wrong. It's quite a simple task. And so if you heard those kind of things and you're having that conversation, might be something that you did if you're concerned that someone was overconfident and that was actually the risk that person faced. What might be the kind of thing that you might want to flesh out from them then?
Well, I'd want to ask how they would manage particular risks associated with their job, because I'd want to hear how they work through particular things.
Yeah.
And sometimes what I want to try and get them to do is entertain doubt. An overconfident person.
Yes.
Okay. Start sort of, and you said it. It's about possibilities and imagination. We need to understand we're dealing with uncertainty when it comes to risk.
Yeah.
We might think that it's not going to happen because it's never happened for 20 years.
Well, there you go. Yeah.
But it does come down to luck, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And this is where the risk lies, not necessarily on the physical objects, which quite often when telling, that's what we're focusing on. What we're focusing on is understanding people and how they perceive risk. And
so I guess what it made me think of is what we're really talking about here is a good humble inquiry. So, like we've been prone to do, is share with you a great book by Edgar Shein called Humble Enquiry. And this book is really about providing you some resources and tools to put in your kit.
Yes.
So that you can ask good open questions, questions without too many without your own agenda, and difficult tasks to do. But it's really about focusing on others, not on self.
Yes,
so
very much.
If you want a good read and you want some more great ideas about how to have good, effective conversations, ask those open questions, we can recommend this read.
Yes, definitely.
Excellent.
So, well, I think that we wrap that up for today, and that's a great ending to Humble Enquiry. Thank you for listening. If you want more information, put some comments down, and look forward to the next video in the series.
See you next time.
Thank you, bye.
Bye for now.